Hey guys, if you like to party and the stock block is what you're trying to go fast on, we have a new brand for you here, Stock Block the World. Go to the link in the video and support us. It should eventually lead to t-shirts, hoodies, and other apparel. Alright guys, so today we're installing an Enemies Everywhere anti-roll bar on a customer's F-body Camaro. This one's not your typical street Camaro. I mean, it can be, but the exhaust is out the front bumper. So you know, there are some things that won't apply to everybody. And as you can tell, it's got a 9-inch setup, and we did remove the factory tank as well. So this is not for every F-body, but for you guys who are more race or fast street car oriented. So Enemies Everywhere is our preferred anti-roll bar. We're using all the customer stuff we do. You know, we've had great luck with their products, good people, and so you know, it's a company that we enjoy supporting. So John, tell them the purpose of the anti-roll bar.
Well, when the car leaves, it'll always pick up the driver's side because of the way the engine works. So by having this, it ties each wheel together. It no longer can lean like that. So it applies, you know, traction to each tire more equally, I guess you could say.
And I'll attach a picture so you guys see what it looks like when cars don't have anti-roll bars. And there's more to it. You know, the anti-roll bar helps. A stiffer chassis helps as well. But anytime you can get the car to just leave easier, you reduce the chance of it driving one way or the other, and it makes things, you know, safer and better. But what we'll do here is we'll get started, and we'll kind of point out why we're putting things where we're putting them and our way of doing it. So as you can tell here, we have we're going to put the initial plates, which we'll show you right there. There's a little gap, so we got a piece of metal we're going to sit in between there, and that will take up most of that. We'll have to fill a little bit, but it won't be anything substantial. And that way we can you know, ensure strong weld. So it's going to be on both sides. So that's, after you pick your spot and clean it, that'll be the first thing you do. So these are the first piece you'll weld on. What you do mount here is where your actual anti-roll bar plate goes. And this is, of course, is where the spherical bushings are, which are one of the awesome benefits to these kits. But normally you'd put it flat on there, and I like to weld the inside. But with that little gap we have, we should be able to weld around, and then we'll just weld on the outer edges, of course, and then the inside of this as well. Alright guys, so as you can tell, the flange is welded in. John's got the piece that holds the spherical bushing on this side. And then on this side you can kind of see how we did on this. Welded it inside and out. So that way, you know, you don't have to worry about it tearing off, since these things will have a lot of load on them. It is important to make sure that you measure properly, because you want these things to be even, and of course take into consideration everything from the arm travel as well, so it doesn't interfere with stuff. So what's next is we'll get the other piece bolted in on this side, and we'll measure how long our bar's got to be, which John's got cleaned up over here. Alright, so as you can see, we got our bar on. This is what the arms, these weld in place, and the arms will spline onto this. We put these on before tacking the end pieces here, because we want the weld to prevent it from sliding on. As you can tell, this thing moves well, moves free. You know, it's 27 3/8 our measurement, but you don't want it to fit tight. You know, you need to make sure this thing doesn't have any chance of binding up, so it operates as smoothly as possible. So now we got to figure out where we want to put our arms at. Alright, so as you can tell, we got the ends welded on. What I did here was, you know, I mentioned about how I didn't want to risk not being able to slide these over the weld, so put these hose clamps on there just to keep them in the center. The way this setup is, we're basically going to be right there, probably a 1/4 inch, if that, from the weld on the end. And so, you know, we got our stuff marked, and then I'll show you how, before we weld it, how we level it out to make sure it's even. Alright, so like I said, ours are going right through to the weld, and what I did was I just butted up against it, and where the weld is a little above the surface, it stops on both ends. You know, you want to make sure these are even, so They so your bars can be the same length. So what we do is just that right there. We just lay it out long ways with these pieces on, and I'll tack it with the arms on there. Once it's tacked, then we'll take them off because I don't want the heat to discolor them, and we'll fully weld it. Alright guys, as you can tell, got those pieces welded on. Bar is very hot, so I recommend letting it cool down fully before you install it. That way you don't expose those bearings that slide around the ends here to so much heat. So as you can tell, we got our end links tacked on here. You will have to make some measurements and see what works best for your setup. On this one, we basically chopped it in half because obviously one side can't use more than half, and adjust it from there. You'll notice they are marked as to which one has a left hand and right hand thread, but they are different. So each, basically you'll have two with a line on it like that, and then two that are smooth like that near the base. Once we get this thing on the car, I will have John explain to you how he likes to set up the anti-roll bar and things you need to take into consideration as far as bar movement. Alright, as you can see right now, these pieces are just sitting on the rear end. You want to make sure you clean the area good before you weld it. We're using this digital angle finder to make sure we're on 90 degrees. Just try to true it up with the car itself, because obviously a lift can cause some it to sit a little off. So we use the bar right here because we're confident it's pretty true. I'm going to have John explain to you what he looks for when setting up the bars.
With the radial car, the suspension separates, or at least that's what you want it to do. So I try to set these pretty close to level with the ground at full extension. That way it's doing its job where it should. You just have to obviously allow for, when the car's on the ground, this is going to go up. So you want to make sure you have clearance between the trunk forward, which we did. So that's how I do that.
And we prefer to set them up with the car in the air and in the rear end unloaded, because once again we do a lot of radial racing, so we're looking for extension. Some guys will set them up whenever the car's on the ground, but you may not leave enough room for the bars to do what they're supposed to, and it could potentially hinder the suspension how it tries to work. And if you're looking for the opposite, if you're looking to no prep race and squat, you still want to make sure you leave plenty of clearance for the suspension to compress in the rear, so you don't end up hitting your bar once again on the trunk floor. We got our end links welded, and once again, like I said, you can identify them with one side has a line on it, the other side doesn't. You got to make sure you have the two different thread patterns so you can adjust the length if necessary without removing the bar. Alright, as you guys can see, everything is in there and painted, so it can't potentially rust over time. Now John is going to explain to you how he sets up the anti-roll bar.
You just put the car on the ground to wait on it. You really want the driver to be in the car, but I always start neutral. So both your end links should be, usually you'll have one that's always going to start to get tight. You just don't want to put a bunch of pressure on any of them. Then of course, if the car, assuming your rear end is square, if the car ever drives left or right, you can always put a little bit of turn in the bar and it'll counteract that. So, but starting neutral is the best way.
And when he says a little bit of turn, he means half a turn, because these things can be sensitive. So don't go there and overbear it, because then you might shoot way far the other direction. So half a turn at a time, and just take time to test these things. If you get in a hurry and make a big adjustment, it can mess you up quick. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Any questions, ask them in the comments. We'll be sure to help. We are also dealers. You can get them on our website, www.brutalfab.com. Put the link here at the bottom. And these things do sell fast. Every time we get them in stock, they go quick. But these things are top quality. We've been 160 foots with them. They work great. We've had it for a couple years on our personal shop car, and it's something that we recommend for everybody. Is what we feel is the best anti-roll bar out there.